when Vaughan first emailed me and told me that there was going to be this repackaging, this deluxe box set of the original Pixies music, and that there was the opportunity to shoot some new material, initially the prospect was quite scary and daunting. I felt that we'd had a good run of years of work that became iconic and popular, and I felt that if I was going to revisit the original sleeves, then I'd want to put a sort of 2008 context to it. So I decided to approach it and shoot everything with a small digital camera, the Ricoh GRD, and something as discreet and as small and as seemingly unobtrusive as this type of equipment, it allowed me access to things that probably I would not have got with film. One of the important things for me that I kept in the back of my head was the fact that everything I'd shot before was shot in a studio, on a tripod, with a big camera, was all about sharpness, clarity, resolution, almost a scientific approach, and that all of the things that I made for the 5 LPs back in those years were constructed sets. They were things that I collected, that I built something literally in front of a camera in a studio and lit it. So it was very, in one sense, there was a sterility to it, there was a cleanliness, there was a precision. And I wanted this work to have none of that. I wanted the new work to be much more exploratory. I also wanted there to be this feeling of almost sort of like a surveillance sense. So I was happy to shoot a lot of things at night with a camera that produced what you might call very noisy files. I liked the idea of putting this sort of digital noise, this the sort of bad visual quality into part of this set of images. So part of the work would develop with that sense, that sort of almost like a sort of they were stolen images. They were images that were sneaked, that were taken quickly, that were surreptitious. And here in Bangkok is the perfect place for a sense of finding the macabre, the comic, the surreal, themes that ran throughout the Pixies music and obviously my images. Lust, sex, religion, the later fascination with outer space and UFOs. I was essentially making the work for me. I made the work for myself. I shot it the way I wanted it, and then I would find links and contexts that I would place it within the Pixies theme. We would put things within the Doolittle, we would put things within the Surfer Rosa, we would look at Tronc Le Monde and Planet of Sound and things like this. That I didn't have the same vision when I was making the sleeves back in the 80s, because there was a time frame, you know, between one coming out and another one. This time round I was able to really shoot a whole array of things, a huge body of work which I could then chop up and utilise and fit it, if you want, to the Pixies theme. There is always this thing of the need to refine, the need to break down, the need to explore avenues, and one of the things that clearly has come out of this particular project with Vaughan is my interest in colour work, which before I'd for many, many years I stayed well away from. And I stayed well away from digital really until this beginning of this project. And digital allowed me to begin to see in colour. It allowed me to produce a raw file which captured obviously colour, things in colour as you see them. I could then convert the file and treat it as I would in a darkroom, but I found myself more and more, particularly in the last few projects, of just working with colour. And if I've got anything out of this project, it's about an interest in colour and an appreciation of a sense of tonality that I didn't have before. So it's helped me refine my vision, the way that I see the world. And I know I see it in quite a strange way, but yes, certainly this project has helped me with that. The other great thing about working on this project was the chance to work with Vaughan again. We haven't really worked together properly for many years. We have a very good friendship, and we've been through, both of us, a lot of things in our personal lives which have been difficult. So the chance to sit down and talk about and get excited about new work, for me is probably one of the best benefits of this project. The mechanism that we work with this time was different to before because we're in two very different places. So the communications via email, the communications over the phone, it's not, rarely have we been able to sit down and discuss things face to face. In fact, we only discussed it face to face when I went back to the UK and I showed him the work. But by that part, certainly by that date, most of my side of the project was complete. My shooting of it was done. So in terms of our collaborative effort, we work quite differently this time round. But it was big. But I still had the feedback because I could show him the images as I was making them. And as his design moved forward and evolved, we would revisit some of the images that I shot, and sometimes I'd have other versions that I hadn't shown him that I would send, and I would work those up. So even though initially the work was shot last year, certainly in the last 2 or 3 months, I've added things slowly to it to refine it, if you want. This time, because my own personal work had become much more documentary, everything I saw, everything I photographed was as it is, as I saw it. It wasn't constructed. So in a way, I was finding within Southeast Asia a reality that I could echo from the earlier work, but without having to construct it. One of the other elements that came from the early work was this sense of texture and decay. And some of the images I shot specifically for the new work were simply textual. There's nothing else, just colour and texture. To enable Vaughan to use these alongside some of the actual images. The opportunity, the chance after all this time to sit down with Vaughan and work for us to work together as a team has been great. A really good experience. Something I never expected ever to work on a project this size of a band that finished many years ago and that were clearly ahead of their time in terms of their music, and certainly the following and the influence that they've had over developing bands since then is enormous. But never realised that we were going to be part of something that later on would have its own sense of musical history.